Morning, everyone. Coming at you. This is Terry Koogler from Koogler Landscaping. I think it's Sunday morning. Supposed to rain off and on most of the day, so doing a little shop reviews here. One of the ones I've got are these are the Ridgid Cordless tool. I got a mixture of most of them's brushless, as you can see there on the label there. So most of these are brushless, but I've also had non-brushless mixed in. I really can't tell too much difference between the two, although I do understand that the brushless is, smoother and more powerful and uses more efficient and stuff. So that's kind of why I switched to it, and this was the latest. I've started out with Ridgid. I don't know how many years, 10, 15 years ago, they were promoting, when they first came out, or I first got interested in them, they were promoting a 24, I think it was a 24 volt system. And back then that was very powerful because everything else was 12 or 18 at the most. And I thought, and they said that was going to be the future. And I've also used some DeWalt equipment and various other brands. Probably DeWalt was the second brand I've used the most of. So I bought the system. The first one was 24 volt, and within a week or two I had some issues with it. Took it back to the store and they said, well, we've got some issues with it as well, and we're no longer going to use that. But fortunately, they did work with me a little bit, traded me out the system, and they had went back to the 18 volt, I believe it was, which I believe that's what all this is right currently. And they said, well, that's the one they're going to go to, in the 24 volt they're not going to use anymore. So that was my first go around with them, and so I've been using it for many years. I find it adequate. One of my little pet peeves with it, and I suppose that's all the different things today, because I'm 60 now, and I grew up with like Sears Craftsman, where you bought something, it was warranted for life. If you broke a socket, you broke a rake, if it had the craftsman's name, you walked in, you gave them the socket, they would go as far as take a new one out of a tray and give it to you, and you'd be on your way. So my first issue with the Ridgid brand had, I think it was a couple batteries go bad on me, and went back in the store and said, like, change this out, because they were advertised when I bought it. The salesman said, lifetime warranty, really didn't say much beyond that, just, come in and we'll take care of you. And so I was thinking Sears Craftsman. That was stuck in my mind, so I took the batteries in and said I really need to get some going, because I depend on my tools. I use them every day for something. And he said, well, we don't do that here. It's very easy. You just send it into this store or drive across town. Told me where it was, or send it in, and 2 or 3 weeks you can get a new battery. Said, but you have to have the written down the logo. And I said, well, I didn't do that. And of course, I never could end up getting a new battery, because you have to have these numbers here. I don't know if you can see it there, I think in the white lettering. And if you don't write them down and you don't get each letter and number right on each tool and each battery, because you just can't have the tool, you have to have the batteries. And with me, as you can see here, this is just half of my Ridgid tools. I've got a radio, I've got 6, 7 chargers, I've got 15, 20 batteries, and plus I've got probably double what you see here. I just set out some of the ones I didn't think it was needed to duplicate everything. But so I've got other stuff, and I just find it's a pain in the butt to do things like that. You guys can chime in and let me know what you think. But so it just makes it very difficult. So I have had several batteries over the years go bad, as you might expect in 10, 15, 20 years of use. And I've dropped a couple tools here in the shop on the wooden floor and have broke them, or something went wrong internally. And of course, if you've got a number wrong or failed to write down it correctly, they won't cover it, or they haven't for me at least. So even though they know that I purchased all these tools, and I've probably spent I would say $2,500 to $3,500 at least in these tools. I got a couple bags and kits and separate pieces and stuff. So I do like their bigger circular saw. This runs, turn it around here so you can see it runs the standard blade there, 7 1/4. So I like that, because when they first come out, they were a little bit smaller. So, but it works for me. I just don't like the warranty aspects and all the hoops you got to go through. So that's what I was most disappointed in. So I've just been sticking with it because I've got all the accessories with it. So I'd like to hear about the different cordless tool brands that you like and why you might like to use them and stuff. What's the pros and cons? Like the Milwaukee, I hear it's very good, and had 1 or 2 of theirs, but I've never bought the whole kit system. I had several DeWalt, I don't think I had their complete system, but I bought some a drill, and I got their I had a light and a 2 or 3 things from DeWalt, and it seemed okay. At the time I purchased theirs, they were pushing a 36 volt, but I just found it was so outrageously expensive for the batteries and stuff. I think this was like 15, 20 years ago. I think the battery was like $200 or something a piece. And when you're talking about a dozen different tools, and so 12 times 200, just the battery alone just about kills you. So I just thought the 18 or the more standard-ish volted kits were a much better value than even though the one was a bit more powerful. Trying to see make sure whatever. So I got a mixture of 4 amp batteries, and I think I got a 2 6 amp. There's a 6 amp on my cutoff wheel. So I've got a couple of them, and I got a 3 amp. I think the batteries over the years, I think they're using maybe a switch to the 21700 cells. And so this is 6 amp battery, for instance. That's a 4 amp over here. I'll try to get it out. And if you lean them up here, and if you look at them, they're both 18 volt. The 6 amp is more compact, or no bigger. It appears to be more compact than the 4 amp. So that's the technology. They can really cram a lot of power in. I think it says somewhere what it is. I'm trying to see if I can find it real quick. But I think this is 100 and some volts or something, or amps or something. I can't remember where it says it. Anyhow, it says it on there somewhere, but the battery technology, as you can tell, has come a long ways, and you get a lot more power in a smaller package. So I wouldn't hesitate to, I think 6 amp on 810 would be the way to go for me. As I keep buying extra batteries, that's where I'm going, the 6 amp or better. No more 3 and 4 amp, because I like the run time and the power. So that's kind of my take on the Ridgid cordless tool brand. It's fairly decent. Don't like the warranties and the hoops you got to jump through. I'm an old guy and grew up with Craftsman and used to that type of service. But that's gone as well. So out of all of the tools here, I think my Impact there is one of my favorites. They're most used. And then the cutoff wheel I really like. And of course I like the lights and the drill. I use quite a bit, but that Impact works really well. And then I've got another heavy duty, I believe it's an Impact as well there. So that's a little smaller one that really puts out the power. So yeah, the cordless tools have really come a long ways and over the last 10 or 15 years. And I see the electric and the battery stuff, you know, getting into the chainsaws. I recently did a video on my Stihl, I think it's the SM120 or 220, I believe, chainsaw. And so, yeah, they're starting to invade the, I've seen electric 21-inch mowers, you name it, everything seems to be going electric, but I think in the bigger stuff, it still has a ways to go, commercial, at least for me. I still prefer the gas-powered hedge trimmers and gas-powered weed eaters and gas-powered mowers and stuff. So not that the other stuff, but for the commercial guy that's, you know, really knocking it out and stuff, it's kind of a pain in the butt to have all these battery systems because each one's different. You can't, the Ridgid, you can't use the Milwaukee and swap them out and use the chargers. And I've got I'll take you over here and show you. Well, we've got a few minutes left, so this is one of my charge stations here, so you can see the issue. I got a DeWalt, I got a paintless cord paint air sprayer. That's my DeWalt system, and there's a couple Ridgid batteries, and here's my bags down there. Pardon the mess that it keeps in. There's some of the extra tools down there, so I didn't, like I said, want to drag everything out. And there's another charger there, so I have 4 chargers. That's my double-headed one there, so I'm capable of charging 4 or 5 batteries at once. So you can see I really there's my Ridgid shop vac, which has been good, and I got a Ridgid radio over there. But I'm not despite all the Ridgid stuff, I'm not over a fanboy. I'm not somebody that has to have Ridgid brand on everything. I buy whatever I think is going to be good, but back when I bought the Ridgid, it just seemed like it had a more powerful battery system in the 24 volt, and they talked about the great warranty, and so I was thinking of being a guy, I was thinking of the high power of the 24 volt and runtime over the 18 volt systems everybody was pushing. And of course, I told you earlier in the video that only lasted a month or two, and that the system went away and they went back to the 18 volts. So push come to shove, I didn't really get anything extra. So, and then the warranty wasn't as quite what I thought it was going to be. So it's been difficult because, like I said, if you get one of them little letters or numbers wrong on each battery or tool, then that is not a warrantable item, because you can't just walk in and say, hey, I've got this system, and they know you purchased this from them, because the computer day and age that we live in, they know that I bought a kit from them and that I do own it. So, but if I don't have the number and I haven't registered it correctly, which I seem to always fail to do, then they don't take care of it. So there's the lesson in that. So Well, let me know what your systems are. Always interested in hearing comments about people's what they're using and liking. And thanks for watching, and we'll talk at you later.